Hello everyone, this is Valerie with Stampin' with Valerie, and I am here today to do a, I want to say quick video, but it probably won't be a quick video because I've got 3 projects I'm going to do. This is what we received in our Stampin' Success email this morning. If you're a demonstrator, you got this. And these are some little projects that they showed us and highlighted for us. They do this once a week, every week on Tuesday. And what I like about it is it just gives us some extra ideas, things that we can do, things that we can show you, or just inspiration for our own. So I actually went ahead and I'm going to show you how to make all 3 of these projects today. So I'm waiting for my video to pull up. Hopefully it'll pull up so I can see if anyone's on here. But the first card I want to make is the little one that was on the left hand of the photo. I used the Memories and More cards. These are the smaller size, and there is a larger size, and I used that for the card that was on the right hand side, and you'll see that in a few minutes when I get to it. So without further ado, I will get right to this. Like I said, so far I don't know what it is when I go onto this, trying to get onto my business page. It doesn't want to pull up right away, so it's going to take me, hopefully it'll pull up here in a minute. It's got everything else but my video, so I'll give it a minute. So anyway, start out with your Whisper White Memories and More card and just go ahead and fold it on the score line. I'm going to go ahead and post all of my dimensions and colors and all of that stuff onto my, see, it's still not pulling up. So if you're on here, I apologize. Hopefully it'll pull up in a minute. Onto my blog. So you can go there and get all the measurements. They'll be typed out, and so you'll have them then. I'm not going to go into those boring details right now just because it will take extra time. So just cut a piece of designer series paper the same size as the front of your card, and this is the Follow Your Art suite that we are using. Everything that we are using comes in that suite. Other than the Memories and More cards, you order those separately, but you get 20 cards, I believe, with that. So we have these awesome little silver foil buttons. Those are cut out using the dies that come in the suite, and I adhered them to the card with glue dots because that was the easiest route to go. So I'm just going to kind of stick them to the glue dots here, and then we'll adhere them to the page as we need them. There was only one I put a dimensional on, and that's that one right there. And now I went ahead and used the It Starts With Art stamp set, and I stamped out this little ribbon and this little, I call it a filigree spool because it kind of looks like a little spool for something, like a thread spool. And then I just colored with my Stampin' Blends. Put a couple dimensionals on the back of that. I actually started with this piece, which seems kind of backwards. You'd think you'd put the buttons on first, but I did that, and it kind of messed me up on my card. Isn't exactly, I'm gonna set this little stamp right on there so you can see that better, because I didn't get everything exactly where I wanted it when I did that. So checking one more time for my video to see if it's coming on here, and it's not. So I don't know, hopefully I'm going live. If not, I'm recording myself. My phone shows that I'm live, and I see people are saying hi to me on my phone, but I can't pull it up, so I apologize. Hello to everyone who's watching. Okay, so once you get that piece on there, you take your little filigree spool that you've stamped and cut out using the dies, and just adhere a small piece of Calypso Coral cardstock to the front of it. That kind of fills it in. And then take a piece of Whisper White twine, baker's twine, and I'm sure I cut too much. I always cut too much. And just tie a little bow off to the right. Try to hold it in place if you can. And I always like to tie a knot first with the baker's twine just because it helps it stay in place better. Otherwise, I always end up with a bow that doesn't stay tied, or it's like flopping all over when I'm trying to tie it. And it doesn't have to be a big bow. It doesn't have to be perfectly going one way or the other. When I made that card earlier, the bow kind of went sideways, but it worked. This one's not going to do that. This one looks like it might be upside down. Maybe not. Once I get it tied, we'll know. But there we go. Just trim those ends off. You have to kind of start with a little extra to get a bow. An easier way to tie a bow with your baker's twine, as far as I'm concerned. When I try to do it with a smaller piece, I just end up, I'm all thumbs and it doesn't work. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put a couple dimensionals on the back of this. I'm gonna slide it underneath here. Just slide it underneath that heart a little bit. And then we already have our buttons ready to go, but we'll go ahead and stamp this You Make Everything Sparkle sentiment with Calypso Coral ink. And put a dimensional or two on the back of that. Probably, give me just a second, let's hook the button, get our buttons on there before I decide to put the dimensionals on there. We'll get one of these up here. And they really only need one glue dot a piece. They don't need more than that because they stick pretty good with that one glue dot, especially if you're tucking the end underneath something else. You don't have to worry about it coming up. That one's kind of right in the center, so that's good. Stick that right there. This one, and the one that's still on the roll, we'll put on in just a second. I'm just gonna go ahead and put one dimensional right in the center, so I know exactly where this will sit once I get it on there. If I put the dimensional on ahead of time, then I might have to take it off and move it over to get these to sit right. See, this one's turning out just a little bit better because I was able to realize I needed to put that piece on first, the ribbon spool. And we'll just kind of tuck that under the edge a little bit. And that's the first card. Super easy. And our next project is going to be a box. I really wish my video would pull up. I am going to close Facebook and reopen it because maybe that's my problem. Because I really hate not knowing who's on here. I can't say hello and answer questions if you have a question. And see, now it's just scrolling like it doesn't want to come up. All right, so anyway, there's the first card. I'm just gonna move on because we need to move on. Look at this adorable box. Isn't this fantastic? This is made with the mini shipping boxes. I'm gonna lay it right on its side like this so you can see it. This is a pretty easy thing to do. You have to, it took a little bit of measuring with the paper, but it really wasn't too bad. I'm just trying to get all of my supplies over here without knocking everything over. That's for the third card, because if I knock those over, I will lose those pieces for sure. Okay, so you start out with your little mini shipping box. Aren't these cute? They have the Stampin' Up! Logo on them, so if you want to cover that, this is one of those perfect things. And then you can just, it's not attached to the box. You can slide that little band off if you want to for opening and closing. So just fold on all the score lines. And on the bottom of the box, it has this little flap like this. If you wanted to, you could put a glue dot on the inside of that and hold it shut, but I didn't think it was necessary. Just fold all these little score lines for the top because you want that Stampin' Up! Logo facing up. I mean, I guess if you wanted to, if you covered the box this way with paper, you could do it the other way and have this flip open for the top, but that's not what I did with it. I did it this way. And then I took some of this washi tape. This is the Follow Your Art washi tape. And I took a piece of it. I love this with the Stampin' Up! Logo on it because then it looks like you're shipping a package, which is really cute. And I just went ahead and stuck that on there. See, still no video. Facebook is just not liking me today, apparently. So again, I appreciate you watching if you're watching. You take your piece of cardstock, you already have it pre-scored. I'll have all those measurements. Again, once I get my video downloaded, I should have everything on my blog no later than 8 o'clock. Just go ahead and go on all your score lines. take a piece of tear and tape, which now there we go, there's my tear and tape. Just take your tear and tape and just do one end. This is the inside of the paper because I'm gonna do it, wrap it the exact same as the other one. And I actually went ahead and just ripped this piece off now. Go ahead and lay your box down. Fold all of your, try not to push it in. Hopefully you'll have it full of goodies. I don't have any goodies in here yet, so makes it a little harder when you're folding it. Just fold it over, adhere with that piece of tear and tape, and you've already got the first part done. Super easy. Second part, all you do is you take a piece of crushed curry cardstock. You're gonna run it through the button embossing folder. And now I'm gonna show you this. It doesn't fit in there perfectly to begin with. So you run part of it through, and then you have this little tail that comes out. So then you're just gonna tuck it back in just up until where the other ended. And you don't even know that you had to put it in there twice. You can barely tell. You just run it through your embossing machine, die cutting machine, if you have a combo, and it works out perfect. So go ahead and take 2 dimensionals, put those right in the center on the top. Try to center this so you've got about the same amount on each side because you want these little banners coming over the edge. Now before I ran it through the embossing folder, I did use the banner triple punch on it. Now the easiest way I found to hook this is to put it upside down. And I hope you can see, I feel like I should have turned on one more light in here. Put it upside down and then kind of hold it because like I said, I don't have anything in here, so that top is kind of bowing out because nothing's holding everything down here. And just kind of fold it over. I didn't even score this. I just folded it over lightly so it'll get that nice little crease all on its own, and then that holds your box shut a little bit better. And still, this will slide off if you want to, however you want to do it. So I'm going to lay it this way so you can see the front of it. Take a piece of Whisper White cardstock, stamp your sentiment, which this says, "You paint my world with happiness." Go ahead and stamp one of these little clips. I don't know what kind of clips are these called. If you know the answer, put it in the comments and I'll see it later because I can't even think of what kind. I know you use them for in the office for paper and whatever, and I use them in my card making. But for some reason, I can't think of what the name of it is. So I just flipped this over so I know where the top of it is. Put this little clip on there kind of on an angle, hold it there, put a dimensional on it right there, and then put a dimensional in the center. You don't want to put any other dimensionals on it just because these other little flowers, once we get them on there, they kind of tuck underneath this little circle. And if the little Follow Your Art embellishment kit doesn't come with enough of the same colors for me to do the same colors on both of these, that's why this one's going to have a little bit different. But I'm going to go ahead and take the backings off these flowers. I already have dimensionals on the back of them. That dimensional didn't want to stick. It's sticking to my finger. Actually, this will be easier. I'll just use, they all kind of act like they're not wanting to stick to the back of these. So we may have to add a little bit of glue to those just if you want to make sure they obviously stay on there for a gift. Add a little bit of Tombow glue or something like that to make sure they stay. So just look, they're still stuck together. Go ahead and just tuck underneath that little sentiment, one of those Calypso coral ones. And then actually, I think I'll tuck this bigger one underneath there too. There we go. So it's kind of went under the banner a little bit with that one. And then we'll put this one up here, another one that is in the Coastal Cabana. That's the one that that little sticky really does not want to stick to. And like I said, I will have to go back and maybe throw some glue on there. Stick that one on there. This one just kind of is off to the side. voila, finished. Isn't that adorable? And it looks good with either color of the flowers. I think next time if I do another one, I would probably use the yellow flowers just because I think they're gorgeous, the crushed curry. So there's that little gift box. Fill it with treats, give it to a coworker, give it to a friend. And the third project is the one that takes the longest because you do a lot of coloring. I'm not gonna do the coloring, let you choose your own colors. I will list all my colors so you'll have them when you go to my blog. So just take one of the large Whisper White Memories and More Note cards and go ahead and give that a crease. Then have a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and that's what we're going to adhere everything to begin with. We have a lot of little buttons that we cut out using the It Starts With Art, I think is what they're called, or the Arts and Crafts dies. And then we have all of our little markers and pencils, our blends, our Stampin' Blends, and our watercolor pencils. So when you stamp these, there are 3 of them on this stamp. It is a Stampin' Blend on the left, a Stampin' Write marker in the middle, and a watercolor pencil on the right. And then the die that comes with it is a 3-piece die, so it will just lay right over them and cut all 3 out at the same time, which is so fantastic. It made this so much easier. But this was the process that took the longest, was putting dimensionals on the back and lining them up. So I'm gonna move this card out of the way. I know it's the one we're using, and when I layered mine, I did mine a little bit different than what they did. They had yellow in the middle, I wanted yellow off to the side, so the easiest way to do this that I found is to start with your colored pencils. And you have 1 extra. So this is really the extra one. These all match. And then you've got one just out of the blue, which I thought I would just use a gray for that. So I did Smoky Slate, I believe. Again, I've got it typed up. It'll be there soon enough. But just take your first 2 pencils, flip them over, and this is where the time-consuming part comes in, is when you gotta do this. So do any of you have this set? Have you used it yet? I'm hoping some people have this set, they've used it. I think it's a really fun set. I mean, we all know we have crafty friends, so who better to make these cards for than our friends? Now you don't want to line it up right on the bottom. You want to bring it up just a little bit, but it's easiest if you have both of these pencils so you can kind of bring them together and kind of point them directly at each other and just lay them down. And then start with your whatever color you want to use next. I don't even know what order I'm putting these in. I think this is the same order. This is the yellow one again. And you can use any colors that you want. You don't have to go with the colors that they used or that I used. I'm just gonna quickly lay these down on here because I want to kind of have an idea of where they're gonna be. On the first card, I didn't put them as close as they did on their card as far as the tips of the pencils go, so I'm gonna try to do that with this card. So you got to kind of line them up before you even get started. So now I know this is a good spot to put this one. Go ahead and take the backings. Literally, that is what you spend most of your time doing on this card, is putting dimensionals on and taking the backings off, because not only for these, but for the little buttons that go with this, those all have dimensionals on the back too. And those are pretty easy to cut out as well, because it's also 3 little buttons on one. This is not going to be exactly even, but it's going to be close enough. We're going to pretend it's even. It's not the easiest card to line up, but, and I thought about, look at that one's all way off, that's why. That's all right, we're leaving it just like that for now, because we got one over here that looks a little bit better. I thought about maybe, and I should have laid something here in the center, just a little circle or something to maybe help me gauge where I wanted to put them. but I didn't want to stick anything to the paper, and I knew the little circle would just move around on me, so I was like, nah, we'll just wing it. So then you take your Stampin' Blends that you've colored and you put the color next to whichever color watercolor pencil that you chose. This one is So Saffron, so it's right next to my So Saffron. And this, the third Stampin' Blend that you put on, is the actual center one, so it's going to go straight up and down on the card. When you get done with this, you have all of these cut out, and you also have, this one goes with this pink, which is, I think I used Flirty Flamingo. Again, you'll know once you read everything I typed up. It has been a long day. I have spent the day typing, working on these cards, cutting out doubles, and just trying to get everything set for this. I'm just going to go ahead and take the backings off all of these if I can without sticking them all to myself. These itty bitty buttons are so tiny. They are literally the size of the mini dimensionals. So I will go ahead and just stick that one on. The way they did it was like in a little rainbow. These tiny ones are just gonna haunt me, I think. But I kind of mixed mine up a little bit. I didn't do the exact rainbow that they did. And since I moved it even more on this one, I'm gonna move a couple of these buttons over to this side. I should have stuck with their pattern. Their pattern worked with the amount of buttons that was cut out. But sometimes I'm a rebel and I don't follow the rules. And you just kind of place them like I did on this card, a bigger one. You know, there's 3 different sizes of each button that you cut out. So you have a lot of buttons. You have 12 buttons total that you need to fit on here. And they have these little centers in them, and some of those centers popped out, some of them stayed. If they stayed, I just left them. If they popped out, I left them as well. I didn't even worry about whether or not it was where it should be. Here's one of my little blue ones that got moved from where it needed to be. And the little tiny blue one, these are the hardest ones to get off, these tiny ones. But once you get them all on there, it really, honestly, doesn't matter if you have them in a perfect pattern. They look really pretty just because you've got them spread around with all those other colors on there. So it just turns out to be a really pretty card. And what I was gonna say earlier, and it didn't happen, was once you get everything cut out, you have leftovers. You have 12, or not 12, but 6, I believe, of the little markers left. Those are the center ones, so you can use those for another card. I didn't color mine yet. I'll probably color them later, or I might make a card with just leaving them Whisper White. So I took another piece of Whisper White cardstock and stamped the Follow Your Art sentiment, which is here somewhere. I have so many things on my desk right now. 3 projects is a lot to do for one video. I think I should have cut it down into 3. Maybe I would have made a little bit more sense, but hopefully you're following along and not getting too tired of me. And kind of stamp it a little bit toward the left-hand side. When I did this card, I cut it a little bit too long, and so for this card I cut it down a little bit because I had a little bit too much paper on that one. And then you cut one of these little lace pieces from the Arts and Crafts dies as well. And I took a little bit of glue, just went along the back edge. Doesn't have to be a lot. I'm just gonna spread that out a little bit because that's a little clumpy. I don't want too much of a clump. And then just flip this over and just line up that. It's easier when you look at it from the front. Make sure you have it even. Kind of slide it around a little bit because that's the grace you have with the glue. You can move it just a little bit. Take a couple of dimensionals on the back of it. Well, actually just one on this end I think will work. I probably should have waited. Hold on. I'm gonna have to take that off, and now it doesn't want to come off because I forgot about this cute little paper clip. So literally the meaning of paper clip, it's a clip cut out of paper. So you've got this little paper clip that you cut out using silver foil paper. And I'm trying to see how I clipped it on here. This way. Clip it on here, just on the edge, and then put your dimensional over it because it will hold it in place. That was my mistake. There, now that will hold it in place. And then tie a tiny little bow with some of your Whisper White Baker's twine. And again, you'll have extra left over from this because it's too hard to work with if you cut the piece too short. And even when you don't cut it too short, if you're all fingers and thumbs like I am tonight, or all thumbs, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Again, it's been a long day, ladies and gentlemen, whoever's watching, because I can't see who's on here. Just go ahead and pull it until you have a smaller bow. You don't have to cut it yet, just set it aside. Take your glue dots, and then either take your pick tool or your paper piercer, whichever one you have, and just roll your glue dot and kind of fold it over. Stick it to the front so it sticks over the top of that little paper clip. Then you just stick your bow right over that little half that is folded over. It covers it perfectly. Cut your little ends off with your paper snips or whichever scissors you're using. So that's ready to go on. We are just going to add some dimensionals to the back of this. And because it is a bigger piece, because the Whisper White larger cards are a little bit bigger than our standard card, add a couple of extra dimensionals in the middle there because we don't want it sagging. And then I will grab that folded card that we folded at the beginning. And we are just going to put it right on the front. I just love the way this card looks. I just think it's gorgeous. And then I'm going to take and put a dimensional right here just so it will be where I know I'm going to be putting this. Otherwise, again, I might be putting a dimensional over one of my buttons if I stick it to the back of this. Now I know that's going to stick right there. I want to kind of bring it to the edge of the card. And there you have it. That's our third and final project. Isn't that gorgeous? I think that is my favorite of these three projects, is this card. Like I said, you got a lot of coloring to do, but it turns out really, really cute. I'm gonna put everything right here so you can see it. There are the boxes. Here is the first card. And that is everything. What do you think? Is this something you'd want to make? I hope you want to make it. If you head over to my blog, I'm going to list that here in just a minute after I get the video posted and let everyone know that this is now recorded. And again, I apologize that I couldn't see anyone's comments or to see who was watching, but I really appreciate you joining me. And I will make sure I thank you in the comments. So I will talk to you later. I hope you have a great evening. Bye.